here we have these steaks that we pulled out. I know somebody who owns a steakhouse, and I went and tried one of his steaks. And I said, man, you know, typically I'm a very quality salt, very quality pepper. That's all I need for a good steak.
Right.
I don't need a marinade, don't want a marinade. Maybe a little garlic, but for the most part, that's all I want on my steak, with a couple other secret little things that I sometimes add. His steak was really different. It kind of had a Southwest flair to it. And I said, what did you do? So he told me so much, but he didn't tell me everything. So I had to come home and guess.
You're good at that.
So you think about the flavors that he had on it. I know there was paprika, probably smoked paprika. And I know that there was a chipotle flavor on there. Chipotle, by the way, for those who don't know, is just basically a dry, aged, smoked jalapeno.
Really?
That's all it is. So we've got coffee.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Everybody loves a little bit of coffee taste, ground coffee in their steak. I've got some turbinado sugar. What's turbinado sugar? That is a coarse, more lightly processed sugar. There's more of the molasses flavor still in it.
It's bigger. I like the big chunks.
Bigger, and it stays, even when you're using it in a recipe, a lot of times, it maintains its structure. It doesn't cook down and break down, so you can have that little bite. Sugar in a steak, you may say.
I think it'd be good.
So what I did is I took all those flavors, and I'm going to try to get his flavor as much as I can, because it's a good steak. I'm going to try with a little cumin. I know he had some cumin in there. I'm going to put, 2 teaspoons in there. Smoked paprika. Oh, that smells
A lot of smoked paprika.
I'm going to put 3 teaspoons.
Okay.
Now, the chipotle, which I really tasted.
Is that hot?
It's a jalapeno. You want a bite?
No.
You want a spoonful?
No, thank you. I don't
Just
want
a
to smell
spoonful of chipotle. 1, 2, 3 and a half. Now, what I've found with chipotle and things, when you put them on a steak, for some reason, the heating process kind of slows that down. It takes the heat out.
Yeah.
Just use a little bit of a quality. This is some of our Tellicherry pepper. I'm gonna probably go 3/4 of a teaspoon. I'm gonna go a tablespoon of salt, because you really need a lot of salt on that steak. Unless your doctor says no, and then
Be careful.
you gotta be careful. I'm gonna take some of this sugar, and I'm gonna put, let's go a teaspoon. Then with the coffee, I really want that to stand out. I want to taste that. And again, this is kind of a different thing for a steak. Now, most people like to taste their beef, but if you can find something that really accompanies it well and makes that flavor pop, I'm a fan of this.
Now that was 3 tablespoons of coffee. That's a lot of coffee.
3 tablespoons. That's 3 and a
yes.
half.
Oh, was it?
tablespoons,
Okay.
Yeah, because I really want that to stand out. Now, here's what we've got. Don't be afraid.
I can smell that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to go to a restaurant and say, okay, I'm going to break this down. And then go home immediately. Write it down, what you remember. And then, oh, that does smell good.
It smells really good.
Now, we have many ways to use our heat here in the outdoors. We have our Dutch oven over here, and I want you to keep this in mind. If you never remember another thing I say about cooking outside, 350 degrees. In this is 350 degrees in your oven. There are plenty of guides all over the place to tell you how to do that, and that smells heavenly.
It does smell good. I can't wait.
So what am I going to do to begin our steak process here? I'm going to go ahead and put a little olive oil on it. I'm going to go ahead and season ahead of time, because as I put this in the cast iron, I'm not putting it on a high temperature. I'm not searing it. I'm cooking it in there like you would cook it in an oven at a low temperature. I'm going to try to keep it about 250 or less. These steaks are room temperature, and they're making my mouth water.
They look really
Everything
good.
smells really good here. I have got my Dutch oven on about 250 degrees. That's roughly 4 on the bottom, 12 on the top. That's going to create a low temperature in there where that fat can start to render. They actually start to cook. They're not going to cook, and I'm not going to sear them. That's what the fireplace is for. But meanwhile, I go ahead and put just a little olive oil on there, and I take my well-mixed seasoning, and I generously, that's a ribeye, and I think, personally, that ribeyes work out really well at medium rare. All right, so I'm gonna turn them over. Now I'm gonna kind of push my seasoning in there, and when I get them off and get ready to put them in the fire, I'm gonna put a little more seasoning on. but just know that that flavor is going to be already working. And then again, your steaks need to be room temperature. And what I'm smelling here, again, now this is a very nice steakhouse where I'm talking about, and the guy obviously wouldn't tell me his whole deal, but I took a whiff, and then I added some stuff, and this is really, really, if you've ever had a coffee rub, you'll know what I'm talking about, along with the chipotle. Now again, we're not looking for, and you didn't hear, a sizzle there. These are just going to warm up and that fat's going to start to render down. And I want them to be about 100, 105 degrees when they come out of there. Then we finish them up on the fire. So again, when you talk about reverse sear, the sear comes after, not before. We put it in there basically to start the cooking process and start rendering those fats down. If you just threw it on the grill for 3 or 4 minutes, you're going to have a tough steak. If you let it start to cook down and let those juices start to render down until it gets to about 100, 105 degrees, and then do your sear over here, according to what temperature you like. But this steak right here has a unique profile. After we took it off here, popped it on here, got some grill marks on it, and that profile is so wonderful if you like just a little bit of heat. And again, you would think with the chipotle, that much chipotle, you would have a whole lot of heat. Right. You are really sensitive to heat, and you did just fine.
That was perfect, because I think it cooks it in there.
So what happens when you run that through about 250 degrees for about 15, 20 minutes?
Wow.
You see that? You see a little bit of pink. That's a good medium rare.
How is it?
So what do you taste there? What's different?
I can taste the coffee on it. I kind of like that. It's a whole different taste. I like that a lot.
That is extraordinary.
That is.
It's not something we do every time. Again, I just prefer the salt and pepper,
Oh.
maybe a little garlic. Would you cut me another piece of that?
I will.
Oh my. When you're cooking it and that fat's rendering down and you have the smoke from the fire, you got
Delish.
something special.